Hello, everyone. Tonight we are standing in a place where the air smells of dry earth and old bones, and the only sound is the soft crunch of your feet on the brittle grass. The moon is rising huge, pale, and cold, casting long shadows over a landscape littered with the remains of creatures long gone. You can almost taste the ancient dust in the back of your throat. And somewhere out there in that silver darkness, the hyenas are stirring. Their shapes flicker at the edges of your vision, following not the prey themselves, but the ghostly shadows the moon casts across the forgotten bone fields. You probably won't survive this night if you step too far from the faint comfort of the firelight. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And hey, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is where you are right now. I always love seeing how far this little campfire of ours reaches. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. The moon hangs low over the horizon, so big it looks like it might crush the hills beneath it. Its glow bathes everything in silver. And as you shuffle along, trying not to make too much noise, you spot them. The hyenas. Ancient creatures not like the ones you might see on a nature documentary today. These are bulkier, with heavier jaws and thicker limbs built for cracking through the bones of mastodons and rhinoceroses. They move like shadows themselves, low to the ground, slipping between the skeletal remains of beasts lost to time. And their eyes, oh, their eyes glint in that cold moonlight like chips of obsidian. Historians still debate whether these ancient hyenas were purely scavengers or whether they took down their own prey. Some evidence suggests they were capable hunters, but no one can say for sure. What is certain as you crouch behind a boulder and watch is that these creatures seem to dance to the moon's rhythm. Each rise and fall of lunar light on the plain draws them deeper into the bone fields. There's a strange hush tonight, as if the world itself is holding its breath. Somewhere in the distance, an owl hoots, though. Fun fact, ancient owls of this region were almost twice the size of the barn owls you know today, and probably would have been more than happy to make a meal out of something your size if you'd stumbled across one of their nests. The hyenas move with purpose, their paws silent on the dusty earth. You follow as best you can, heart pounding, every step feeling too loud. The bones crunch beneath your boots, a sound you're sure they can hear, though they don't seem to care. It's as if they have ears only for the moon's whispers tonight. One of the hyenas pauses beside a massive femur cracked and hollow. It sniffs at it, then looks up, gaze fixed on the moon as if seeking guidance. The creature's fur ripples in the breeze, and you can see the scars of countless fights etched into its hide. These beasts are survivors shaped by a world that has no pity, no mercy. The moonlight seems to paint their forms with a kind of tragic beauty, turning their coarse fur to silver, their savage faces to masks of quiet contemplation. As you watch, the hyenas begin to spread out their movements, forming a loose circle around the largest concentration of bones. There's a rhythm to it, almost like a ritual, and for a moment you wonder if they're aware of the pattern they make, or if it's just instinct. Either way, the effect is eerie, like watching the priests of some long-lost cult paying homage to the night sky. Remember when humans first tamed fire? Well, these hyenas have their own kind of fire. The cold, reflected fire of the moon. They follow it, worship it in their own way, bound to it by ties as old as the stars. And tonight, you're lucky or unlucky enough to witness it. A breeze stirs the grass, bringing with it the faintest hint of decay. You wrinkle your nose, but the hyenas seem invigorated, noses lifting, jaws parting in silent laughter. They move again more urgently now, drawn deeper into the bone fields by some secret only they and the moon share. Off to your left, you spot something glinting in the dirt, a fragment of stone tool maybe. A reminder that humans once walked this ground too long before you. And maybe they watched these same hyenas, wondering as you do what drew them to the moon's shadow. Some say the moonlight helped them see better, helped them find the marrow-rich bones they craved. Others whisper of deeper magic of bonds between beast and night that no modern mind can fully grasp. You take a step forward, then freeze as one of the hyenas turns its head, fixing you with that unblinking gaze. For a heartbeat, you and the creature regard one another, two beings bound to the same ancient night. Then, with a flick of its ragged tail, it turns away as if dismissing you as no threat, no rival, not tonight. The moon climbs higher, casting longer shadows, and the hyenas melt into them, becoming part of the night. You exhale, not realizing you'd been holding your breath. The plain is silent again, except for the soft rustle of grass and the distant call of that oversized owl. You should probably head back to your fire. The hyenas might have no interest in you now, but dawn is still a long way off, and the night has many teeth. You shift your weight carefully, trying not to snap any twigs or send pebbles skittering down the slope, because the hyenas are on the move again. Under the pale gaze of the moon, they slink through the silver light like it's a river, flowing low to the ground, their bodies barely more than ripples in the night. It's like watching shadows chase shadows, and for a second, you almost lose sight of where they end and the moonlight begins. Honestly, if you weren't so terrified of being noticed, you might admit it's kind of beautiful. The breeze has picked up just enough to rustle the dry grass, filling the night with a soft hiss. You pull your coat tighter, though. It's not really cold, just the kind of chill that seeps in when you realize you're very small and very alone. The hyenas move as one, weaving between patches of moonlight, as if the silver beams form invisible corridors only they can see. Their paws touch down so lightly that you don't hear a thing, not even the crunch of grit beneath them. You know how cats sometimes act like they own the world. These hyenas have that energy, but multiplied by about 1,000 years of surviving in a world where everything is trying to kill them. Somewhere behind you, a nightjar clicks its strange call. A bird so good at camouflage that during the day you could trip over one and never see it. Odd fact. In some ancient cultures, nightjars were thought to drink the milk of goats, which is absolutely untrue, but somehow became a persistent myth. Maybe people just didn't like the look in their eyes. You can relate glancing at the hyenas. One of the larger hyenas pauses at the edge of a moonlit patch, its muzzle lifted, nostrils flaring as it tests the air. Its ears twitch, catching sounds you can't hear, and it steps forward, leading the pack deeper into the night. They're following something that's clear, but it's not scent alone. Their gaze keeps flicking up to the moon and then down to the shadows it casts, as if those shadows are maps guiding their way. Historians still debate whether these ancient hyenas followed the moon's path to better scavenge, or if there was a deeper, almost superstitious connection between predator and night. The patterns of their movements hint at something more than chance, a choreography written in silver light and bone dust. You trail them as best you can, stepping where they step, though your clumsy boots betray you at every turn. You swear the hyenas glance back, sometimes as if sharing some cosmic joke at your expense. The moonlight makes their teeth gleam when they part their jaws, tongues lolling in silent laughter. Great! Hyenas with a sense of humor. The landscape changes as you follow them. Gentle rises and dips the skeletons of ancient trees, casting their own long, twisted shadows across the grass. The hyenas seem to prefer these areas where the shadows mingle and tangle, creating pools of deeper darkness where the eye can't quite follow. It's like they're drawn to places where light and dark fight their quiet battle. You pause to catch your breath, heart thudding loud enough that you're sure they must hear it. The lead hyena stops again, standing in a wide patch of moonlight. The silver glow clings to its fur, outlining every scar, every ragged patch, where time has worn away at its hide. It stands tall, nose pointed skyward, and lets out a sound halfway between a laugh and a scream. The rest of the pack joins in their voices, rising in a chorus that makes your skin crawl and your stomach twist. It's not a sound meant for you, it's meant for the moon, for the night, for whatever spirits these beasts think listen from the shadows. And you poor soul get to hear it all. You notice something else as their calls die away the way they arrange themselves, not in random clusters, but in arcs that mimic the moon's curve above. Coincidence? Maybe, but if so, it's a coincidence that keeps happening over and over, wherever the moonlight guides them. You shift your gaze to the ground and realize you've been standing on a faint path, one worn down not by human feet but by paws. Paws that have traced this route for generations, perhaps centuries, and always by moonlight. The hyenas slink ahead following that silver river, and you follow too because at this point turning back seems harder than going on. Besides, your campfire feels like it's a million miles away now. The moon drifts higher and the shadows grow sharper. Every blade of grass casts a line of ink on the earth. Every rock looks like it's crouching, waiting to spring. And the hyenas, those pale phantoms, keep weaving through it all, drawn onward by the light only they seem to truly understand. You think about how ancient people must have watched these creatures and wondered at the same mystery you're grappling with now. Maybe that's where the old legends started, stories of beasts who answered to the moon, who could slip between worlds on nights like this. Or maybe those stories were just a way to explain why hyenas seem to vanish and reappear like ghosts always where the shadows ran deepest. Either way, you're part of it now. A silent witness to the strange silver dance of hyena and moon predator and shadow night and bone. And let's be honest, you're probably not sleeping tonight. You press on your feet, moving almost of their own accord now, following the hyenas as they glide ahead, slipping between the shadows like ink poured over the land. The moon rides high, casting its cold glow across the plain, and everywhere that light falls, the world seems flattened, emptied, as if only the hyenas and their pale guide exist in this ancient night. The air tastes of dust and something faintly sweet like old grass after rain, or rain that hasn't touched this place in weeks. Ahead, the bone field spread out like a graveyard built by forgotten gods. Rib cages arch from the ground like the wreckage of ships. Long abandoned skulls grin up at the stars and femurs lie scattered like discarded tools. The hyenas move among them with the ease of creatures who know every bleached relic by heart. Their heads lower as they sniff and snuffle, sometimes pausing to gnaw at a fragment or tug at a brittle tendon that clings stubbornly to bone. Historians still debate whether these hyenas return to such places because they remembered where the richest marrow once lay, or because the moon's shadow led them here again and again, as if under some silent command. Maybe both, maybe neither. The truth, as usual, probably lies buried somewhere beneath layers of time and wishful thinking. You step carefully between scattered bones, trying not to disturb the resting dead. The crunch of a rib under your heel sends a shiver up your spine, like you've just stepped on a nerve that connects this world to something older, something watching. The hyenas don't seem to mind. If anything, the sound seems to encourage them. One of the younger beasts, its muzzle still dark with age-stained fur, lets out a short, yipping laugh and bounds toward a cracked skull, pawing at it with what might be playfulness or might be something far darker. Hard to say with hyenas. There's a kind of music here if you're willing to listen. The soft rasp of the hyena's claws on bone. The hollow clatter when a skull is nudged aside. The breeze whispering secrets through empty eye sockets. You'd almost believe this place is alive in its own strange, bone-dry way. You pause beside the shattered remains of what must have been a massive beast, something like an ancient buffalo. Though the horns are splintered and the skull has been cracked open, the work of hyena jaws stronger than a vice. The moonlight pools in the hollow of the skull like water, and for a heartbeat, you swear you see a face reflected there, not your own, not quite. But when you blink, it's gone. Just light and shadow playing tricks. Off to the side, a hyena lifts its head and stares at you, its eyes catching the moonlight so they glow like twin embers. The look is brief, then it turns away uninterested. You let out a breath you didn't realize you'd been holding. It's not that they've accepted you. It's that you don't matter to them. Not yet, anyway. And then you hear it the faintest sound like whispers carried on the breeze. The ghosts of prey, maybe? The voices of beasts that fell beneath hyena teeth, their final cries woven into the wind. Or maybe it's just your imagination stirred up by the strange, dreamlike quality of the night. Either way, you don't feel quite as alone as you did a moment ago. Odd fact for you, some early human cultures believed that certain animals, hyenas among them, could see spirits or walk between worlds. Maybe that's why these creatures seem so at ease here, where the living and the dead mingle under the same cold moon. The hyenas begin to move again, drawn toward the heart of the bone fields, where the shadows grow thickest and the moonlight seems to pool like liquid silver. They weave between ribs and jaws and broken spines, their path a strange spiraling dance that makes your head swim if you try to trace it. There's purpose in their steps, but it's a purpose you can't quite grasp. Remember when you thought the night couldn't get any weirder? Well, here's the thing. It always can. The breeze shifts, and with it comes a new scent, faint but unmistakable. Decay, yes, but also something fresher. Something that died recently. The hyenas pick up the pace, their bodies flowing through the moonlight, like water seeking the lowest point. Their eyes gleam, their jaws part, and their laughter rises again, soft at first, then louder, echoing across the plain, filling the empty skulls with their sound. You follow. Because at this point, what else can you do? The moon watches the bone fields listen, and the hyenas lead, always chasing the next shadow. The next secret hidden beneath silver light. You step over a tangle of ribs, nearly losing your balance, and for a moment, you're sure you've drawn their attention. But no. The hyenas are focused, noses to the ground, ears pricked forward. They're hunting something, or maybe they're being hunted by the very night they seem to worship. Either way, you're part of it now, caught in the quiet pull of ancient bone and moon shadow. And still the whispers ride the wind. You edge forward, boots brushing aside the brittle remnants of some long-dead creature's ribcage as the hyenas guide you deeper into this realm where light and darkness knot together like tangled threads. The land dips suddenly, the ground dropping into a shallow hollow. A cave yawns at the far end, its entrance jagged like the mouth of some fossilized beast. The hyenas slip toward it without hesitation, their forms melting into the deeper dark at its threshold. You hesitate because, honestly, following ancient bone crackers into a cave under the full moon sounds like the opening scene of a cautionary tale you don't want to star in. But the night draws you on. The breeze that earlier teased the grass now seems to urge you forward, carrying the faintest scent of ash and something older, stone warmed by the sun long since set. You crouch at the entrance, fingers trailing over rock worn smooth by time and the passage of countless creatures. The cave walls are etched with scratches layered over and over until it's impossible to tell which belong to predator, which to prey, and which to some desperate soul trying to claw their way out. Inside, the darkness swallows the moonlight, but the faintest glow still reaches in enough for your eyes to adjust. The hyenas are their barely visible shapes among the stones, their breath a soft chorus of huffs and sighs. You can hear the click of claws against rock as they shift their weight, as if settling in for some ancient vigil. The cave smells of damp earth, of long-gone fires, and of the dry metallic tang of bone. Historians still debate whether ancient people shared these caves with hyenas, or merely took shelter where the beasts had already staked a claim. Evidence suggests both happened at different times and places. Tonight, as you crouch in the shadows, you feel like you've stumbled into their world uninvited, unnoticed. So far, the hyenas raise their heads in unison, as if responding to some signal beyond your understanding. One lets out a low, keening call that echoes off the stone, mingling with the night wind and the memory of countless voices long silenced. It's a sound that seems to shake the cave itself, stirring the dust of ages from the cracks in the stone. You can't help but shiver, though you tell yourself it's just the cold. Odd fact for you, in some ancient folklore caves were thought to be the mouths of the underworld gateways through which spirits could pass. Watching these hyenas settle in, you wonder if they know something you don't. Maybe they're guardians of that threshold. Maybe they're just looking for a place to nap. With hyenas, it's hard to tell where the myth ends and the animal begins. A gust of wind pushes deeper into the cave, carrying with it the distant scent of smoke. You wonder if somewhere far beyond your little circle of shadow and bone, other humans have lit fires, told stories, watched the same moon. But here the only fire is the glint in the hyena's eyes when they catch what little light filters in. The cave's walls close around you and the sounds of the outside world fade until all you can hear is the slow, steady breathing of the hyenas and the occasional drip of water from the ceiling. Time stretches thin, the night deepens, and you start to feel like you've always been here, just another creature crouched in the dark waiting for the world to change. One of the hyenas moves closer to the entrance, its silhouette framed by the moonlight. It pauses, ears pricked, nose testing the air. The others follow one by one until the pack is on its feet again, ready to slip back into the night. Whatever drew them to this cave has passed. Their vigil is over. Remember when we talked about the moon's pull on tides? Well, here's a thought. Maybe it pulls at more than water. Maybe it tugs at the hearts of beasts like these, calling them to places like this where stone and shadow meet. It's the kind of idea that keeps historians arguing and keeps people like you following hyenas into caves on moonlit nights. You linger a moment longer, reluctant to leave the shelter of the cave's ancient embrace. But the night calls and the hyenas are already moving, drawn once more by the silver trails painted across the land. With a sigh, you rise and follow, boots scuffing against the stone, sending tiny echoes after the pack. Outside, the world feels wider, emptier. The moon is higher now, its light sharper, its shadows deeper. The hyenas glide ahead, their forms merging with the night. And you, poor soul, are left trailing behind, caught between the comfort of the cave and the mystery of whatever lies beyond the next rise. The wind carries a new sound, a faint, distant howl, not from these hyenas, but from some other predator far off. A reminder that the night is full of watchers and you are very small beneath this ancient sky. You step out from this cave's shelter, feeling the night wrap around you like a cold, damp blanket. The hyenas are already far ahead, their pale shapes slipping between the boulders and tufts of grass that glimmer in the moonlight. You hesitate for a heartbeat, then follow, because what else can you do? The moon hangs so high now that it seems to pour its light straight down, bleaching the world of color. The earth below you looks almost unreal, silver and black shadow and shine nothing in between. The hyenas move with new purpose. Their heads are low, their jaws parting as they pant, and every so often one of them will pause to gnaw at some fragment of bone, cracking it open like a child might crack a nut. The sound echoes across the empty plain. Snap, crunch, the hollow pop as the marrow gives way. You wince at the noise, not because it's gruesome, it isn't, not really, but because it sounds like something breaking that ought to have stayed whole. Historians still debate whether ancient hyenas gathered beneath full moons to crack bones as part of some instinctive ritual, or whether it was simply the best time to scavenge when the moonlight revealed the remains that other predators had left behind. Either way, the sight of them now bathed in silver, their jaws working with relentless precision, makes you wonder if there wasn't something more to it. Something about the moon's cold fire that turned a simple meal into a kind of ceremony. You watch as one of the larger hyenas, scarred with one ear, torn to a ragged edge, places a massive bone between its paws and begins to chew its teeth, grinding down until the bone gives way. The sound is sharper this time, like breaking ice. The hyena lifts its head, a strand of marrow hanging from its jaws, and for a moment it seems to look right at you, as if inviting you to join the feast. Or warning you that you're next. Hard to tell. Odd fact for tonight, hyenas have the most powerful bite force relative to their size of any land mammal. They can snap through bones that would leave a lion frustrated. So if you ever find yourself wondering whether it's wise to hang out this close to a pack under the full moon, the answer is Probably not. But here you are. The air smells of old blood and dust, and something faintly sweet, the rot of grass, or the memory of ancient flowers you can't tell. The breeze carries that scent over the plain, and the hyenas lift their noses tasting it, as if reading some message only they can understand. Then, without a sound, they rise as one and move on, leaving behind a scatter of broken bones that gleam like shards of porcelain in the moonlight. You follow, stepping carefully over the debris. The ground here is littered with the leftovers of countless meals, splinters of ribs, shattered skulls, the occasional tusk worn smooth by time. It's like walking through a history book written in bone. And with each step, the hyenas draw you further from anything familiar, deeper into a world that feels older than memory. Remember when you thought the moon was just a light in the sky? Out here, it feels like more than that. It feels like a force, like a silent drumbeat that guides the hyena's steps and your own, whether you want it to or not. You glance up, half expecting to see it watching you with some hidden gaze. But it's just the moon, round and pale and pitiless. The hyenas, slow as they reach a low rise, their forms outlined against the sky. They stand there a moment, silent, as if listening to some call carried on the night wind. Then one by one they lower their heads and begin to move again, weaving between shadows, chasing the paths the moonlight draws on the ground. It's a pattern you can't quite follow, a map written in silver that only they can read. You sigh and follow, boots crunching softly on the dry earth. The plain stretches out around you, vast and empty, the kind of place where sound seems to vanish before it can echo. You feel small out here, smaller than you ever have before. The hyenas don't seem to mind. They belong to this night, to this land, to the moon's cold gaze. You're just a visitor, a shadow trailing other shadows. The wind picks up, stirring the grass, carrying the hyena's scent further into the darkness. Somewhere behind you, far off, a jackal barks, its voice thin and lonely. The hyenas don't even glance back. They have marrow on their breath and moonlight in their eyes. And tonight, that's all they need. The night deepens and the cold begins to settle into your bones. The kind of cold that doesn't come from temperature so much as from realizing you're utterly at the mercy of the dark. The hyenas ahead of you seem untouched by it, gliding through the silver-lit world like they were born from the night itself. You shuffle after them, boots scuffing the dirt, trying to stay quiet, though it's clear by now that they don't care about your presence, not tonight. The moon's light shifts as it climbs higher, casting sharper, cleaner shadows that stretch across the land like dark rivers. And you begin to see it, the way the hyenas adjust their paths, weaving between those shadows, sometimes following them so precisely, it's as if they're walking tightropes drawn in black ink across the ground. At first you think it's coincidence, but no. The pattern is too consistent, too purposeful. They stalk along the shadow lines, using them like cover, moving when the moonlight deepens and the shadows lengthen, pausing when the clouds pass and the silver glow weakens. Historians still debate whether ancient hyenas developed this behavior as a hunting advantage, learning over generations to blend with the night's architecture, or if it was something older, something instinctive written into their bones by the night itself. Either way, you're seeing it now, the strange, beautiful dance of predator and moon. You watch as one of the hyenas freezes at the edge of a shadow, its ears flicking toward a sound you can't hear. Its whole body tenses, ready, and then it melts forward into the dark, as silent as a breath. The others follow, stepping so precisely into the shadow that for a moment they vanish entirely, as if the night swallowed them whole. You blink, and they're there again, farther along, slipping between patches of darkness like smoke. Odd fact for you. The word hyena comes from ancient Greek, rooted in the word for pig of all things. Because early observers thought their sloped backs made them look pig-like. Honestly, looking at these creatures now, you can't help but think those ancient observers were either half-blind or just really bad at naming things. The hyenas move with renewed energy, as if the moon's rise has quickened their blood. You can hear the soft pat of their paws, now the whisper of grass underfoot. Every so often, one lets out a short, sharp laugh that seems to echo forever, a sound that makes the hair at the back of your neck stand up. It's not meant for you, that laugh. It's for the night, for the moon, for whatever spirits they think might be listening. You try to match their pace, stepping from shadow to shadow, and for a moment, just a moment, you feel like part of their pack. But then your boot catches on a rock, sending it skittering ahead with a clatter that sounds like thunder in the quiet. The hyenas pause, heads turning in eerie unison, eyes catching the moonlight so they flash like molten silver. You freeze, breath, held waiting to see what they'll do. And then nothing. They turn away disinterested, as if you failed some test you didn't know you were taking. The pack moves on, flowing through the night, leaving you to scramble after heart hammering. Remember when we talked about how shadows can hide you as much as they can hide what's coming for you? The hyenas seem to know that by instinct. They use the moon's map to their advantage, their bodies always in motion, always adjusting to the changing shapes of light and dark. And here you are stumbling after trying to make sense of a pattern that probably wasn't meant for human eyes. The wind picks up again, carrying the smell of dry grass and dust and old bones. The plain feels endless, now the world reduced to silver and black, predator and prey, shadow and light. The hyenas lead and you follow. And somewhere above it all, the moon watches, silent and cold. And honestly, you're starting to feel like it's laughing at you too. The night stretches on and the hyenas press forward, weaving their silent paths through a world drawn in silver ink. You follow slower now, each step heavier, as the chill of the moonlit plain creeps deeper into your limbs. The hyenas seem tireless, their forms flickering through shadow and light, always just ahead, always just out of reach. And that's when you start to notice something strange. Stranger than everything else you've seen tonight anyway. Their trails. The way they move isn't random. From your vantage point on a low rise, you see at the paths they leave behind, trace patterns that echo the stars above. Their winding routes form shapes that match the constellations, the great hunter, the trickster, fox, the crescent of the ancient moon goddess. At least that's what it looks like. You squint up at the sky, then back down at the plain. The same shapes mirrored in the dust. Coincidence? Maybe. But it's a coincidence that repeats itself with eerie precision. Historians still debate whether these patterns were deliberate, some primitive navigation technique, or whether we're just seeing meaning where none exists. Like when you spot faces in clouds or hear your name in the wind. Still, the match between earth and sky tonight is uncanny. And the hyenas. They don't seem confused or lost. If anything, they move with more certainty, as if following a map written in the stars themselves. You pause, catching your breath, and take in the scene. The moon has climbed almost to its zenith, now casting shadows so sharp they look carved into the earth. The hyenas flow through them silent as phantoms. Their paws leave prints that catch the light just enough to mark their passing but not enough to linger. A breeze stirs the dust, erasing their tracks almost as fast as they make them. Odd fact to ponder while you stand here wondering if you've wandered into some ancient riddle. Hyenas' paws don't always leave clear tracks on hard or dry ground. That's part of why tracking them is so difficult, especially when they choose their path to blend with shadows and ridgelines, as they seem to be doing now. You move again, trying to keep them in sight. The terrain here is uneven, dotted with stunted trees that throw long, gnarled shadows across the plain. The hyenas thread between them as if they know the safest path, the one that keeps them hidden from whatever dangers might be watching. You can't help but wonder if those dangers are real, or if they're just part of the dance, part of the reason the hyenas follow the moon's shadow so faithfully. Remember when humans first learned to navigate by the stars? You do now, watching these creatures trace their strange celestial maps across the ground. Maybe they're older navigators than we are. Maybe they've always known the secret paths drawn by moonlight and we just forgot. One of the hyenas stops, suddenly lifting its head to sniff the breeze. The others pause too, their bodies tense, ears pricked, as if listening for something. A sound you can't hear, a signal you can't see. And then, as if some silent command has been given, they change course, veering toward a cluster of stones that rise from the plain like the bones of the earth itself. You follow heart-racing boots crunching softly on the dry ground. The hyenas move faster now, their steps purposeful as if the stars have shifted, and the map they follow has redrawn itself. You glance up again, half expecting to see the constellations rearranging above you. But the sky is, as it was, cold, endless, and indifferent. The hyenas reach the stones and pause, circling them, their bodies blending with the shadows. They move as one, as if bound by a single will, a single purpose. The wind rises, carrying the soft sound of their low, laughing calls. Not the wild chorus from earlier. This is quieter, almost thoughtful, as if they're sharing some private joke with the night. You stand back, watching, listening, trying to understand. But the secrets of the hyenas of the moon, of the patterns traced in dust and starlight, are not for you, not tonight. You creep closer, boots scuffing softly over the stony ground as the hyenas circle the ancient stones like guardians of some forgotten shrine. The moon's reflection catches in a nearby river, a ribbon of silver that cuts through the plain. The water barely moves its surface, smooth as glass, and the hyenas pause at its edge, staring into it with a focus that feels almost reverent. Their pale forms stand perfectly still, eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight, as if they're watching for something, some sign, some spirit, maybe just their own reflections. The breeze carries the river's cool breath towards you, mixing with the dry scents of dust and bone. You draw it in, trying to calm your heartbeat, which thunders loud enough that you half expect the hyenas to turn and fix you with those strange knowing eyes. But they remain intent on the river, their bodies tense but not afraid. If anything, they seem like sentries keeping watch over the moon's reflection as it shimmers on the dark water. Historians still debate whether hyenas of the ancient world truly held any special connection to water sources like this, or whether we're just layering human ideas of sacredness onto their natural habits. But the scene before you tonight, the stillness, the way they seem to guard the silvered river, makes it hard not to wonder. Perhaps the moon's glow on water was a signal to these creatures, a beacon that called them to gather, to pause, to mark the passage of the night. You crouch behind a boulder, trying to stay out of sight. Though it's clear by now that the hyenas either don't care about your presence or have simply decided you're beneath their notice. The river glints softly as the breeze ruffles its surface. The hyenas shift, moving along the bank, their paws silent on the sandy edge. Every so often, one dips its head as if to drink, but you can't be sure, so still is the water that you can't see the ripples. Odd fact for tonight's walkabout: in certain ancient myths, rivers were thought to be the boundary between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. And the creatures that lingered at their banks often believed to be messengers, guides, or guardians of those who passed between. Watching these hyenas so calm, so focused, you can almost see why such stories took root. The moon drifts higher still, casting longer beams across the plain. The hyenas' forms flicker as they move, slipping between patches of light and dark, always skirting the river's edge. Their paws leave faint prints in the damp sand, but the water laps at them, gently erasing each step as if they'd never been. Remember when we talked about how the hyenas' trails echoed the stars? Now as you watch them patrol the riverbank, it's as if they trace the path of the moon itself, not just above, but reflected below. A dance between sky and water, between predator and shadow, between what is and what might be. One of the hyenas stops abruptly, head-cocked, ears pricked. The rest freeze too, as if some signal has passed through the pack. You strain your ears but hear nothing beyond the soft rustle of the grass and the quiet lap of water. And then, just as suddenly, the tension breaks. The hyenas relax, some settling down on their haunches, others lying along the bank like pale statues. The breeze shifts again, and you catch the faintest scent of rain on the air. Distant too distant to matter yet, but a reminder that even nights like this have to end. The hyenas seem content to wait eyes on the water, as if keeping vigil for the moon's reflection until the first hint of dawn. You stay where you are, watching, listening, caught in the quiet spell of beasts and night and river. And for now, that's enough. The river's silver ribbon winds away into the dark, and the hyenas finally rise, leaving the moon's reflection behind as they move on. You trail after them, drawn deeper into the night's endless sprawl. The plain beneath your boots feels firmer now, packed by generations of creatures moving along the same paths. The air hums with silence, broken only by the soft pad of paws and the occasional hiss of the breeze through brittle grass. And then you notice something else, something subtle but impossible to ignore once you see it. The hyenas' pace, their direction, the rhythm of their steps, they match the rhythm of the tides. Not the sea tides you'd expect along a distant shore, but the invisible tides of the land itself, drawn and released by the moon's pull. It's as if these ancient hunters have learned to move with the heartbeat of the world, their timing synced with forces that most creatures can't even sense. Historians still debate whether this connection between hyena movement and lunar tide cycles is anything more than poetic coincidence. After all, the idea of tides shaping behavior inland feels strange, out of place. But early bone beds and fossil sites often show patterns that suggest hyenas gathered or hunted more during certain phases of the moon. Maybe the moon's pull is stronger than we think, or maybe the hyenas just liked the extra light. Either way, you're watching it now, the strange harmony of tooth and tide. The pack moves steadily, their heads low, their bodies flowing over the land like a stream that remembers where it needs to go. The moonlight glints on their backs, highlighting the scars and rough patches that mark them as survivors. They don't look left or right. They don't hesitate. They just follow that silent rhythm, pause, drumming the earth in time with forces older than memory. Odd fact to chew. Some ancient philosophers believe that all creatures, humans included, were ruled by the moon. That our moods, our fates, even our dreams were just reflections of its changing face. Standing here now, watching these hyenas track the moon's path across the sky and the invisible tides beneath your feet, you can see why the idea stuck around. The breeze stiffens, carrying with it the faint, sharp scent of salt. It shouldn't be possible, not this far from the sea, but there it is. You breathe it in, tasting the ancient memory of oceans that once covered this plain. The hyenas seem to notice too. One pauses, lifting its head, nostrils flaring as if greeting some long-lost ancestor in the wind. Then it moves on, slipping back into the pack's flow. Remember when you thought you were just a bystander in this night's strange dance? The longer you follow, the more you feel the pull yourself. Your steps fall into rhythm with theirs. The moonlight draws paths for your feet as well as theirs. The tides of the land, the tides of the blood, they all hum together, and you are part of it whether you want to be or not. The hyenas crest a low rise, and beyond it, the land falls away toward a wide basin where the grass grows thicker, touched by the last breath of ancient waters. The moonlight floods the hollow, casting it in a glow so bright it almost looks like dawn. The hyenas pause at the edge, their forms outlined against the silver wash, and for a moment they seem to hesitate, as if waiting for some unseen tide to turn, for some ancient permission to be granted. Then, as one, they descend, their laughter rising softly, carried on the wind, blending with the night's sigh. You follow, because by now, how could you not? You follow the hyenas down into the basin where the grass whispers against your legs and the moonlight turns every blade into a sliver of silver. The night feels heavier here, as if the hollow holds onto the dark more tightly, refusing to let it go. The hyenas spread out, moving slowly now, their heads low, ears pricked, every step deliberate. And then, as if on some cue only they can hear, they begin to howl. It's not the wild, chaotic laughter you might expect, not at first. It starts low, a kind of hollow wail that seems to rise up from the ground itself, as if the bones buried beneath the grass are lending their voices to the night. The sound builds layer upon layer until the whole basin hums with it. The hyenas lift their muzzles, their eyes reflecting the moon's pale face, and their chorus becomes something between a song and a warning. You freeze, caught in the strange pull of it, your breath shallow, your heart beating in time with their call. Historians still debate why ancient hyenas howled most at certain phases of the moon. Was it communication, a way to gather scattered members of the clan? Or was it something older, an offering to the moon itself, or perhaps a challenge? What's clear tonight is that this isn't random noise. The hyena's voices rise and fall together, a single entity with many throats, and the sound seems to shape the very air around you. You shift your weight, the grass crunching softly beneath your boots, and the nearest hyena flicks an ear in your direction. But it doesn't break from the song. None of them do. Their focus is absolute, their voices blending and bending in a way that makes the night feel thicker, more real somehow, as if their howls stitch it together. Odd fact for tonight's musings: in some ancient traditions, people believed that hyenas didn't just howl at the moon, they spoke to it, asked it for guidance or perhaps for mercy. Standing here now, it's easy to see how such ideas took hold. The connection between beast and moon feels tangible, like a thread you could reach out and pluck, if only you were brave or foolish enough. The hyena's chorus shifts, grows wilder. Now comes the laughter, rising over the hollow howls, echoing off the basin walls, bouncing back in strange, distorted waves. The sound plays tricks on your ears. You can't tell how many voices there are or where they're coming from. It's as if the night itself has learned to laugh and you're standing at its heart. Remember when we talked about shadows shaping the hunt? You see it now in the way the hyenas move between calls, adjusting their positions so that the moonlight and darkness hide them or reveal them as the song demands. It's not just a howl, it's part of their strategy, part of the way they rule this silvered world. You glance up at the moon, so bright now, it hurts your eyes, and wonder what it must look like to the hyenas. A god. A companion, a mirror of their own pale faces. Whatever it is, it holds their devotion more surely than any prey, any bone, any packmate. The wind stirs the grass, carrying their voices far into the dark. Somewhere out there, other creatures pause, listening, deciding whether to answer or to run. You stand still, letting the hyena's song wash over you, feeling small, feeling odd, feeling part of a night older than your species, older than memory. And just when you think the chorus will go on forever, it stops. As one, the hyenas lower their heads, their laughter dying into silence so complete it makes your ears ring. The night holds its breath, and so do you. The hyenas wait motionless, watching the moon's hollow face. Waiting for what? Permission? A sign? Or simply the next shadow to chase? Whatever it is, you feel it too. The sense that something hangs on the edge of happening. And then softly, the pack begins to move again, slipping through the grass, chasing the next trail of silver and shadow. The basin lies quiet behind you now, its grass still humming with the memory of the hyena's song. You follow them as they climb the far slope, their bodies framed in silver as they crest the rise. The moon hangs low again, its light sharper, colder, somehow casting shadows that seem to stretch forever across the plain. And with that light comes something else. Darkness deeper than night itself as the edge of the moon begins to fade. A lunar eclipse is starting, and the world seems to hold its breath. The hyenas stop at the top of the slope, heads lifted, eyes fixed on the sky. Their bodies are still tense, as if they feel the shift in the night's balance. The moon's glow weakens and the shadow change, losing their sharpness, their certainty. And the hyenas grow restless. They move in tight circles, sniffing the air as if searching for something lost. Their calls rise again, short, frantic, almost questioning. It's not the wild laughter of before. It's something else. A need. A hunger. Historians still debate whether ancient hyenas understood eclipses as omens or whether their change in behavior was just a response to the sudden, unnatural dark. Either way you see it now, how the loss of moonlight unsettles them, drives them to search more frantically for bones hidden beneath the grass, the stones, the dust. As if the moon's shadow has stolen something from them and they're desperate to get it back. One of the larger hyenas, its muzzle-scarred eyes, pale as frost, digs at the ground, scraping away dry earth, to uncover a shard of bone buried beneath. It snaps it up, gnaws at it, but there's no satisfaction in the sound of cracking marrow. The pack spreads out, each member seeking, scrabbling, biting at whatever relics they can find. The eclipse deepens and the plain grows darker still until the hyenas are little more than shapes against the night. Odd fact for tonight's tale: in some ancient cultures, eclipses were thought to be caused by beasts devouring the moon. Watching these hyenas now, so driven, so wild, you can almost see how such myths were born. It feels as if they're trying to piece the moon back together one bone at a time. You crouch low, watching, heart pounding, the weight of the dark pressing down. The wind has died, and the world feels smaller, closed in, as if the eclipse has folded the sky down around you. The hyenas' frantic movements kick up dust which hangs in the air like smoke catching the faintest traces of light. Their eyes flash in the gloom, restless, searching. Remember when we talked about how the moon shapes more than tides? You see it in their every motion now. The way the loss of its light scrambles their careful rhythm disrupts their silver map. The hyenas are adrift, caught in a night without its guide, and they don't like it. Not one bit. The eclipse reaches its peak. The moon, a hollow shadow, and the plain seems to disappear. The hyenas huddle closer together, as if drawing strength from the pack itself now that their silver guardian is gone. Their calls soften, become more like murmurs, low sounds that barely stir the air. And then slowly, the moon begins to re-emerge, its light creeping back across the plain. The hyenas lift their heads, their bodies relaxing by degrees, the tension bleeding from their limbs as the silver glow returns. They leave the scattered bones where they lie, no longer interested, as if the return of the moonlight has filled whatever emptiness the eclipse had opened in them. And you let out a long breath you hadn't realized you were holding. The night has shifted again. The moon is whole, and the hyenas move on quieter now, their steps softer, their path clear once more. The moon, reborn from its brief vanishing act, casts a softer, almost weary light across the plain. The hyenas drift beneath it, their bodies seeming smaller somehow, as if the eclipse stole a piece of their wildness and left them quieter, more thoughtful. You trail behind boots, brushing through dry grass that hisses softly at your passing. The night feels different now, not empty exactly, but like a song nearing its final notes. The hyenas' movements become more erratic, less fluid than before. They trot, then pause, then double back on themselves, as if unsure of what comes next. One stops suddenly, turning in a tight circle, snapping at its own tail, not in play but in frustration, maybe confusion. Another darts at a shadow, teeth bared, only to stop short and stand panting, sides heaving. It's as if the eclipse scrambled some ancient code in their blood, and now they're trying to remember the steps of the dance. Historians still debate whether lunar cycles truly affected the behavior of ancient predators. Beyond the obvious, more light meant better hunting. But legends linger, and some ancient cultures spoke of creatures born from the moon's very heart. Moonspawn, they called them. Trickster beasts that roam the earth only by night, their minds touched by the same strange tides that move the silver guardian above. Looking at these hyenas now, you wonder. There's something in their eyes, a glint of mischief, of madness, of knowledge that no human could claim. One of the younger hyenas breaks from the pack and bounds toward a lone boulder, leaping onto it with awkward enthusiasm. It stands there, framed against the fading eclipse, and lets out a high cackling call that sounds as much like a challenge as it does laughter. The pack answers with a scattered chorus, the sound less coordinated now, more chaotic. The night wind picks it up, carries it out over the plain where it frays at the edges and dissolves into silence. Odd fact for your midnight musings. Hyenas have one of the most complex social structures of any predator, with matriarchs, hierarchies, and rituals that can seem almost human in their intricacy. Watching them tonight with their strange lunar-driven behaviors, you can't help but wonder if some of those rituals are older than their bones. Older maybe than ours. The moonlight strengthens, and with it the hyenas seem to find their rhythm again. Their bodies align, their steps fall into sync, and the chaotic energy of the eclipse fades like a bad dream. They move together once more, gliding between the shadows, slipping back into their silent silvered hunt. Remember when we talked about the hyenas following the moon's shadow as if it were a map? They're reading it again now, tracing lines written in light and dark, chasing the invisible trails that only they can see. The night's strangeness recedes, replaced by the familiar pull of instinctive tradition, of whatever force ties these creatures to the cold fire above. You follow quietly, humbled by the rawness of what you've seen. The hyenas, the moon, the strange dance of beast and shadow, all of it, older, deeper, wilder than anything you'd imagined when you first stepped out into the night. And the night isn't done with you yet. The night stretches on and you feel it in your bones. Now, the weight of the darkness, the slow pull of the hours as they slip past, like the hyenas themselves, silent and tireless. Ahead, you spot the faint flicker of what could only be a campfire, its orange glow fragile against the vast sea of silver and shadow. For a moment, you think about making your way toward it, about joining whoever tends that flame, but something keeps you close to the hyenas. Curiosity. A need to see where their strange journey leads, or maybe just the sense that whatever safety that fire offers is an illusion tonight. The hyenas skirt the edge of the firelight, staying just beyond its reach. You see them clearly now, the way their forms ripple at the boundary where moonlight and firelight meet like smoke, caught in a breeze. They don't approach, don't threaten, but they circle watchful. The campfire's crackle seems loud in the quiet, and the soft murmur of human voices drifts across the plain unaware, or perhaps pretending to be unaware of the pale watchers beyond the glow. Historians still debate whether hyenas in ancient times were true night thieves drawn to the warmth and scraps of human camps, or if the stories grew larger in the telling, turning scavengers into specters. But here, tonight, you see the seed of those tales. The hyena's eyes catch the firelight flashing like coins tossed into the dark. Their movements are slow, deliberate, a kind of testing. How close can they come before the humans notice? How far can they press their luck? Odd fact to chew on while you're standing here, wondering if you're about to become part of an ancient legend yourself. Hyenas have been known to steal sandals, cooking pots, even sleeping skins from camps drawn by the mingled scents of food and people. There's something both eerie and oddly comical about that, a creature capable of snapping a bone in half, creeping off with someone's shoe. You watch as one of the hyenas crouches low, belly to the ground, creeping closer to the camp's edge. Its paws are silent on the earth, its breath shallow. The firelight paints its face in strange, shifting patterns, as if the flames themselves are trying to decide whether to reveal or hide it. The other hyenas wait, still circling, still watching. And you stand caught between beast and human, moonlight and firelight, predator and prey. Remember when we talked about the hyenas reading the map of the night? They're doing it now, using the flickering shadows cast by the fire just as they use the silver lines drawn by the moon. Every movement of the flames changes. The game reshapes the dark, offers cover or betrays it. The hyenas adjust. Shift, play the firelight as skillfully as they play the moon's glow. You take a breath, slow and quiet, and the scent of wood smoke fills your nose. The campfire's warmth reaches you faintly, a reminder of the world you came from, the world of walls and hearths and safe places. But the night has you now, and the hyenas are your guides. They move on, slipping away from the camp, leaving behind only the memory of their watchful eyes and the soft print of paws in the dust. Yeah. And you follow, because this path, this night, this dance isn't done with you yet. The campfire's glow fades behind you, swallowed by the night, until it's nothing more than a memory of warmth against the cold that clings to your skin. The hyenas move on quieter now, their steps slower, as if the night itself has grown heavier with the passing hours. The moon begins to wane in earnest, its silver face softening the shadows it casts, blurring at the edges. And with that fading light, something in the hyena's purpose seems to fade too. Their trails, once so sharp, so certain, grow faint. The precise lines they trace between patches of light and dark, the silver maps they followed across the plain, those patterns dissolve like mist beneath a rising sun. The hyenas pause more often, sniffing at the ground, circling, as if trying to remember what it was they were seeking. Their bodies sag with fatigue, or maybe with confusion. The moon's guidance is slipping away and they feel it. You can see it in the way they move, hesitant now, uncertain. Historians still debate whether the waning moon truly affected the hyenas' ability to navigate or hunt, or whether the change was in the watchers' humans seeing what they wanted to see in the beast's nightly patterns. But standing here, watching these creatures falter as the moon's glow dims, it's hard not to believe in some deeper connection. The night feels different now, quieter, as if holding its breath for morning. One of the hyenas, the same scarred matriarch who led them so confidently before, stops and looks back, her pale eyes meeting yours across the distance. There's no challenge in that gaze, no threat, just weariness and maybe a question you'll never be able to answer. Then she turns away, head low, and drifts back into the thinning shadows. Odd fact to keep you company in this quiet hour. The term laughter for the hyena's call might have started as a mistranslation of ancient descriptions. What sounded like laughter to one culture was considered the weeping of a cursed spirit in another. Listening to the soft, fragmented sounds they make now, you can understand both interpretations. The pack's movements lose their earlier grace. They split apart, regroup, split again, their paths weaving into and out of each other like threads in a tapestry being undone. You follow, your steps slow, matching their fatigue, your body heavy with the weight of the night. The breeze stirs the grass, but the sounds of the hyenas, those cackling, laughing, singing voices, grow rare like the last echoes of a song. Remember when you first saw them move with such certainty, chasing the moon's shadow across the land? That certainty is gone now, faded with the moon itself. What remains is a softer, sadder dance, still beautiful but touched with the sorrow of endings. The hyenas are no longer chasing something. They are wandering, waiting for dawn, waiting for whatever comes next. You trail behind them, the moonlight dimming the plain, darkening the night, reaching the edge of its long breath. And you understand in your bones that soon this journey will end. The last threads of moonlight cling weakly to the horizon, their silver washed pale and thin by the coming dawn. The night's hold on the world is loosening, and you feel it in every step, the way the darkness lifts, the way the cold softens, the way the hyenas slow as if sensing the change and knowing their time is nearly done. You follow your boots, scuffing the quiet earth, your breath visible in the cool air, a ghost among other ghosts. The hyenas move together now, drawn close, their wandering paths merging into one. Their heads are low, their pace measured. There's no urgency anymore, no trace of the fierce hunger or restless searching that carried them through the night. Instead, there's a strange calm, a quiet resignation perhaps, or the comfort of knowing the night's work is complete. The moon's last shadow drapes itself across the land, soft and thin, and the hyenas walk its length as if it's a road only they can see. Historians still debate what drove ancient hyenas to follow the moon's shadow in the first place. Was it simply better vision under the moon's glow, a practical adaptation passed down through generations? Or was there something older, deeper, a pact of survival between predator and night beast and celestial guide? You've seen enough tonight to know that the truth may never be pinned down by facts alone. The hyenas reach a low rise where the land opens wide, and they pause there standing together in the moon's fading light. For a long moment, they are still silhouettes against the paling sky. The breeze stirs their fur. The first faint bird song touches the air, fragile and tentative, as if even the birds are hesitant to break the spell of this long night. Odd fact to tuck away. As the dawn approaches, some early human burial sites contain hyena bones alongside human remains, suggesting that in death as in life, the paths of people and these creatures sometimes intertwined. Companions, rivals, watchers of the same moon chasing the same shadows. The lead hyena. The scarred matriarch who has guided the pack through this long journey lifts her head one last time to the sky as if to bid farewell to the moon before it slips beneath the horizon. And then softly she moves on, leading the pack away from the rise, their forms dissolving into the softening dark, leaving behind nothing but faint prints in the dust, and the memory of their strange, silent ritual. You stand there watching as they fade, feeling the night's breath ease, feeling the world shift toward the day. The last shadow of the moon stretches across the plain, and for a heartbeat you think you see it, something hidden there, secret of survival written in the language of light and dark. But then the sun brushes the land, and the shadow is gone. You turn at last, boots heavy with dust, the memory of the hyena's journey, a weight you'll carry long after the night is forgotten. The world brightens, the sky blushes with the promise of morning, and you begin your own walk back toward the warmth of fire and shelter. But part of you lingers always in that silvered night where hyenas followed the moon's shadow and the dark itself seemed alive. The night fades now, and with it the memory of the hyena's strange journey. The moon's last light lingers only in the corners of your mind, a soft glow against the coming dawn. The beasts are gone, their shadows melted into the land, but their dance remains etched in the dust, in the stillness, in the hush that holds as the sun rises. You feel the weight of the night lift replaced by the gentler pull of day, and you let the breath you've been holding slip out slow and easy. The world stretches wide, softened by morning light, and you know somehow that you've seen something ancient, something meant to be forgotten but not lost. Let that last image blur now. Hyenas fading into the night's edge, the moon's secret safe for another cycle. Rest easy, friend. The night has given all it will.